My name is Mary Daly. I'm an MD, PhD professor at the Fox Chase Cancer Center. I have had a long and sort of erratic journey to where I'm at now. One of the most important things is I spent 6 years in the Air Force in the Medical Corps as a medical oncologist, the only female medical oncologist. So I had a lot of experience treating women with breast cancer. And this was back in the 80s when we didn't have as good treatment. And I saw a lot of those women die. And so that generated in me an interest in finding ways to do prevention. And that kind of changed the course of my career to when I went to Fox Chase Cancer Center to join a very prestigious prevention program. And I think that it was a natural move from there to get into the field of genetics, which I think gives us a lot of prevention opportunities. I came to Fox Chase wanting to find a way to contribute to cancer prevention. And I had a very good mentor there who already had some grants that were in that field. And I somehow put prevention and genetics together in my mind and said, why don't I start a clinic of family-based breast and ovarian cancer? This was before BRCA 1 and 2 had been described. So I started that in 1991 as more of an educational program because we didn't really have genetic tests to offer. But by the time genetic tests became available, I had already amassed a growing cohort of families that were very interested at that point in learning more about their genetics. And what I've seen over the last 25 to 30 years with genetic testing and counseling and management options, I honestly think we've helped people save their lives by the management that we have for either early detection of cancers or risk-reducing surgeries. And we've grown to expand as much as we can to include other family members. So it becomes a family-based project. Well, remember I said I wanted to prevent cancer, having seen so many of my patients die of it. So that's one reason. I do think we're helping to prevent people dying from cancer. But it's also genetics, clinical genetics, particularly in the cancer field, is so interesting as insight into the biology of cancer. And I've always loved biology. I've always wanted to know how living things work. And so it's, for me, an ongoing education to understand better the process of carcinogenesis and how we can reverse it. So it's both personal and also patient satisfaction. Yeah, so that was interesting to get an impact award because you don't come to work every day saying, I'm making an impact. You know, you just go and you do what you have to do and you get new ideas and you get other people involved. Just to sort of step back and say, wow, did I really make an impact? It made me really think about it. I still don't feel necessarily that I deserve that award because I don't think of myself that way, but it's such an honor that other people have seen my work and think it has made an impact. Well, other than the fact that we need to keep learning more about these genetics changes that go on, and that's something that's more the preclinical work that I don't do. But once we have a well-defined test and we know what the risks are associated with it, we need to educate people about it. I think there's the majority of people who harbor these mutations don't know it. They never come for genetic counseling. Their providers aren't aware of it. They don't send them for genetic counseling. So there's a tremendous education that needs to happen both among families and among healthcare providers. And I also think that there are segments of the population that are underrepresented in access to these services. So we need to do a better job of getting this information and these services out to all kinds of populations. One example of that is rural populations. There's some states where there's no genetic counseling and there's no access to not only counseling testing, but then the subsequent screenings and surgeries that those people need. The Bassler Center has a lot of resources that can help guide scientists to study these genes and help clinicians to develop new interventions for these populations. They have access to this wonderful institution with all of the educational and marketing materials, so they can make a real mark in this field. Well, often the first reaction that I see is fear. So I like to tell them, this is now power that you are given over your destiny. Before you came for genetic testing, you didn't know why there was a lot of breast or ovarian cancer in your family. Now you have the reason. You have people who can help you to manage that risk and change the course of your life.